On this episode, we'll discuss how churches can tell better stories on a budget. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Moore. Hey, Jess, I'm so excited for this conversation today.
I am pumped about it. I think this is such a great topic.
Yes.
And it's really honestly applicable to every church leader. It's wonderful.
I think so too. Today, we're going to get to talk about some of my favorite topics. I feel like storytelling. We're going to talk about digital ministry. We're going to talk about creativity. I could talk about this stuff all day long. So I'm really excited about this. And we have an incredible guest that's going to be joining us today who has actually been on our podcast before. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But we're joined today by Joanna la Fleur, and she has been on our podcast, episode 60. I had to go back and look this up this morning to make sure that I had the number right. So episode 60, that's been a couple of years ago. So we're very excited to have her back on the show. And so I want to tell you a little bit about her. There may be some folks out there who have not had a chance to connect with her yet. And so Joanna works with churches literally all over the world, Christian nonprofits, helping them to build strategies to communicate effectively and grow disciples in the digital age. She's got degrees in marketing and theology, and she's passionate about, I love that she says this, she makes the good news actually sound like it's the best news in the world. I love the way she says that. She's all about reaching the next generation with kind of these creative approaches to get that timeless message of Christ out there. She is the founder and executive director of Word Made Digital. She's a podcaster. She interviews Christian influencers all the time, and she is a Bible teacher on a national Christian women's talk show that's called See, Hear, Love. Today, we're talking about how churches can tell stories and do it on a budget, which I know that word is, we have a love-hate relationship as church leaders with the word budget, but we know that we never have enough of it. And so we were going to learn how we can tell them on a budget. I love that. I want to first encourage all of our listeners out there, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're enjoying our show. We want to make sure you stay in the loop as we release these conversations. We want to make sure they don't miss anything, right, Jess?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned budget. See, I told you guys this would be applicable to every church leader. I think this will be so good.
So without further ado, let's welcome Joanna la Fleur. How are you there, Joanna? Thanks for joining us today.
I am so well. I'm glad to be here, and we're gonna have some fun. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Now, we just read your public bio, but we always like to take it one step further and just say, what is something that goes beyond the public bio that all your family and friends would know about you?
Um, okay, there's so many things. Maybe I'll give a few. I have 3 pairs of AirPod Pros.
Is that like one in each place, like one in the car, one in...
It's not trying to be a flex. It's that like, got the first ones, and then I lost one AirPod, and then I got the second ones, and then I like, well, the first ones could be the backups to the second, so I got the replacement AirPod, and then those are like when the first ones die on a long flight, then you got the second ones to do the backup because you need that noise cancellation when you're flying to London or Paris or whatever. And so I kind of went from there, and now I have 3 pairs, and yeah, so here's one of them. That's a random fact about me. I have I don't know if my bio says I have a pug, and she is Pearl the pug is sleeping at my feet right now. So hopefully you don't hear her, but you might hear her later.
Well, if she makes an appearance, we won't be upset by that. We won't be upset.
She has many fans. I call her Saint Pearl. Her name's Pearl, but I call her Saint Pearl the Evangelist because she meets all the neighbors. Everybody knows her, and she's a friendly dog. So like kids love her, grandmas love her, and it's been a cool way to like build connection with the neighbors.
I love that.
I love
it. And, speaking of, dog and AirPods in the same conversation, I just want to put that warning out there. Maybe, like you got to keep the AirPods away from the dogs. I'm definitely not saying that from experience.
If you have like a golden retriever, they like eat everything. Pugs are more particular. She has a refined taste, so
I
she
hear
probably
you.
won't eat them. But you're not wrong. I've seen people who have you seen those videos on Instagram or TikTok or whatever where you can play the music and it's in the belly of your dog? It's
No.
bad.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Well, we're believing better things than that for Pearl. We're believing, especially
Yeah.
since she's on the right track, the evangelist and all. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
excited to jump into our conversation. I know that you have spent your career helping ministries, helping churches, these nonprofits communicate clearly in a digital world. That's so important. I'm just curious, how did you get passionate about this? And
Mm,
also you have the storytelling side, and along with the communication and the digital. How are all these things come together? Where did you get
yeah.
started in this?
Okay, real quick version of the story. I was working in a tech company, and it was a B2B business to business company, so
Yeah.
no one would know much about it. But doesn't really matter what the product did, but what it looked like was a big CPU, like
Mm.
metal, big
Yeah.
rectangular boxes with tech inside. And so the graphic designer pulls me over to his desk one day. I was working in comms marketing there. And he says, he's got the main product on the screen and he's
Yeah.
trying different effects in Photoshop. And he says, Joanna, what can I do? How about this? How about this? How do you like this better or this better? Different effects. And he says,
Yeah.
how can I make this look sexy? And I'm like, oh man, there's nothing you can do
Uh,
to make this look sexy.
It's a lost cause.
It's a big black box. And
Yeah.
so, but I can picture, I'm in this tech company, there's foosball, beer on tap, literally, I can imagine where I was, foosball, beer on tap in the
yeah.
background, ping
Yeah.
pong being played.
Yeah.
And I'm standing in this cubicle, and it was one of those moments where I felt God speak really clearly.
Mm.
And not mad at me, but just saying, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't
Wow.
care about the big black box. You don't care. It's
Wow.
not sinful or immoral. It's just you don't even care about this.
Yeah.
You know
Wow.
that you're supposed to use these same skills, comms, marketing, PR, whatever I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
You're supposed to use these to serve the church. What are you
Mm.
Whoa.
doing?" And I had no idea what to do with that, but it was loud and clear.
Yeah.
And in a
Wow.
short succession of time after that, there was some invitation to come on a part-time on it. So I kind of went part-time church staff, part-time tech, and
Yeah.
kind of waded into the waters. And yeah, now I've been doing it ever since. And fundamentally, I always say that we talk about Jesus as the good news of Jesus, the
Yeah.
gospel. But I say it's not just good news, this is the best news
Yeah,
Yes.
girl.
in the world. So why does it always sound like bad news when Christians
Mm.
start talking? And so I'm trying to help them.
Yeah.
And I say them as if I'm not one of them. I'm trying to help us
Yeah.
Yeah.
do my part. I mean, I can't solve this problem, but trying to do my part to say, how do we make good news sound like good news? Make it compelling,
Yeah.
attractive. And I don't mean make it something it's not. It is compelling and attractive, but somehow we've made it weird
Mm.
or judgy or
Yeah.
political
Ooh,
Wow.
or
girl.
a
Yep.
hundred other things. And
Yes.
Yeah.
so trying to help make good news sound good or sound like the best news. I think it's the best.
Well, just
Awesome.
out of the gate, I love your heart in that. Wow. I mean, and that's amazing. And I imagine that, as you're helping these different churches and, I feel like it's a good reminder. That phrase, um, for keeping the good we have the good news, but it is the best news. And you want it to sound that way and be
Yeah.
communicated that way. Oh, I love your heart in that. I feel like storytelling and all things digital for churches, sometimes we get in the trap of wanting to be the coolest or have the latest and greatest, especially, online. There's a new trend like every week, right?
Mhm.
But I'm just kind of curious, to come back to your making the good news sound the great news that it is. How do churches? How can they stay focused? How can they stay centered around that as a mission?
Mm. Okay, there's a lot there. This sounds like a whole podcast episode, this question. If we wanted to go really practical on what I would do there. This is a common question. It doesn't matter the size of the organization.
Mhm.
You never have enough people, time, or resources to do all the things you wish you could do because we're not.
Yeah.
And frankly, even if you were $1 billion Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
Disney, they probably would say the same thing. They don't have enough people, time, resources.
Yes.
So even the ones we look up to and admire,
Mm.
they probably feel that too at some level. But man, local So first of all, the data we're getting about the upcoming generation, which is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, um, I think it's pretty clear that they don't really care about a lot of that cool stuff.
Yeah.
Mm,
So take that pressure off. I
yeah.
don't mean like be intentionally or weirdly, I'm like proudly uncool. Don't be a weirdo, but like like it's not the thing. Like
Yeah.
they have like the world offers that.
Mm,
Uh it's every single post on social is someone trying to grab your attention. What
yeah.
they are longing for is relationship. There
Yes.
is
Wow.
like wisdom that people need that they like it's so confusing when all these gurus on TikTok are telling you how to live your life in the best way and like how do you navigate which ones are true wisdom and
Yeah.
which are like crazy people or not just crazy just like not wise.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, in its really practical sense, here's what I would do if it's a small team, if it's like a church with like a pastor, I'd say, you know what? Have a good website. Make sure it's updated every week. It's nothing worse than like you show up in July and it's still talking about Christmas.
Yeah.
Mm,
And double down on your emails. Email people every week.
wow.
Uh, what I would do if you don't have capacity to do social well, what again, I'm diving in deep here. I'm gonna go real practical.
No, I
Here's what I
love
say to
this.
people.
Yeah.
I say get your real estate, quote unquote, put your flag in on every platform that exists. And I'll say what I mean by that. And then like if you hear of a new one, do it, but so you get your handle. So what I mean by get your real estate is like have your at handle, have your name, your bio, your logo icon,
Yeah.
like a bunch of links,
Yeah.
so that if people are looking for you, they will find you. If
Yes.
people want to tag you, if someone's on Twitter, aka X, and they want to like they're hearing a sermon and they want to at the church
Yes.
Yes.
because they want to quote you or something,
Yeah.
that'll allow them to do it.
Right.
But then if someone on their feed were to tap on that name, like the at your church, they come to it and say like, "Hey, like it's your logo, it's your name, it's your brand,
Yes.
and it's like thanks so much. Like we spend most of our time, like if you want more on us, like come to our website or
Yeah.
come to our maybe Instagram is like the only one you do. So like find us over
Sure.
there. But then what it means is if in the future you have more capacity, you can go back to that platform and grow it.
Smart.
Or you can, if you see trends of like, wow, like suddenly X has become a thing again. And
Yeah.
so like we're getting a ton of interaction there. The kind of people we're trying to talk to are hanging out there and we're getting that they're tagging us, they're
Yes.
talking to us there. Okay, then like let's maybe find some space to build that into the strategy
Yeah.
if we see that people are like give the people what they want, like if people are actively there. But for the most part, we can't keep up with all this stuff.
Right.
Website and
Mm,
email are the number one thing. And I think if you had like 9 tiles on Instagram that were like evergreen of like
yes.
about us and here's our programs and meet the pastor or like
Wow.
how to find us, then like for a lot of places, that's enough. I hope that takes the pressure off.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's such great advice because yeah, especially depending on the size of your team, in maybe even if you had a very large team, you may not want to spend your time on every single platform. But I love that you say go and grab that handle, right? And so maybe you
Yeah.
aren't on Instagram, make sure you got that applies to a new church, a church plant, but also
Yeah.
to a church that's been established, right? Like you want folks to be able to find you in all these different places, even if
Yeah.
you're not leaning in. S-
Especially when there's a new one and you're like, "Oh,
Yes.
man." As I get older, I'm like, "Oh, man, there's another one. We gotta learn another one." So just,
Yeah.
like, get your real estate
Yes.
and, like, maybe you don't have capacity now because 'cause you're doing a couple others. So, like, just get your real estate, and then if it becomes something important to culture in the future,
Yes.
then you have it and you can use it. Yeah.
Want to recap one more thing because you briefly mentioned it. It's very impactful. Don't want to glaze over it. Understanding that upcoming generations crave more authentic, unfiltered content
Mm,
Mm.
versus the very polished. So that should
Yeah.
also take pressure off of you because it doesn't need to be hyper produced, right? You're just looking for something super genuine and authentic. We're talking an iPhone, you're sitting at your
Yeah.
desk, whatever it is, that's what they resonate with more. So I think
Yeah.
it's noteworthy to just put a pin in that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the drive home with the pastor. I mean, hopefully maybe you're not allowed to film and drive at the same time, but that idea of, like, after the Sunday,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's on your phone, you're sitting in the car and, like, here's something that I didn't get a chance to add. There was just no time to add this
Right.
nugget, this story, this
Yeah.
insight into the sermon, or, like, here's something I forgot to say, or
Yeah.
here's, like, some questions for you to think about this week. And
So
it's just,
good.
like, normal,
Yeah.
normal
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I think that too is, like, um it's hard to know what's gonna perform in the like, you gotta throw a bunch of stuff if you have
Yes.
capacity, you
Yes.
throw a bunch of stuff at the
Sure.
algorithm and see what hits, and it's sometimes hard to predict. There could be a
Mhm.
video you spend literally $10,000 on, and it's deeply moving, and, it works well in the services, but it doesn't work on socials in the same way, or it
Right.
does, and, like, for
Mm.
10 years, that video is, like, impacting people. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
cool. And then sometimes it's like that 10-minute, I don't know, the pastor's showing you how he makes his Sunday smoothie in the morning, and,
Yes.
like, for some reason, everybody wanted that content. So, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
I
So, in that sense, take the pressure off. Like,
Mhm.
everyone is experimenting, even the biggest
100%.
brands. And so, do what we can with what we have,
Yeah.
get your real estate, and, yeah, I think, there are people who, for sure, they're gonna check out your socials before they come to your church,
Mhm.
but most people are coming to your church, because they're already a Christian and looking for a church, or if they're not, it's by personal invitation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably not your Instagram that's gonna make or break, that. I mean, if you I guess it could break it if it's bad and you have it. So if you can't do it well, maybe just don't do it.
Ask a volunteer.
Well, and I feel like that's a good segue into talking about the storytelling element of it. So,
Yeah,
and you've
sure.
talked about it some with, the pastor talking about something after the service or something like that. But when it comes to storytelling, how can we utilize digital tools to tell these stories?
Ah, okay, whoever tells the best story wins.
Mm,
That that is true, for a long time. Um, uh, that is true in politics, that's true in, what coffee we buy.
yeah.
Mm.
It's just true. It's true in, like, where we choose to vacation and, like, what story we wanna be part of. So,
Yeah.
story really matters, and,
Mm,
something that's a conviction for me is, um, there there are stories in our churches, in our own church, that we must steward, that we must share. There is no one else who can tell the story.
Mhm.
It's our story to tell.
wow.
And, like, if we don't tell it, who's gonna tell it? And so I think it's a huge responsibility of the church to tell stories of what
Yeah.
God is doing in the church. And I mean, when I say that, of course, I suppose an individual can tell a story. I suppose some journalist could show up and try and tell your story, but that's unusual. I think the
Sure.
main thing is that the local church is responsible for stewarding the stories of God's work in that church, and
Oof.
there's no other church that can do it. There's no other really, like, what media company is going to do that? So,
That was so good. That's so good.
um, I do think it's probably the number 2 role of, if you have a communications job, a marketing communications job in the church, that's probably the second thing on your responsibilities. First is just, like, telling people what's going on when and how to find it.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
second is tell the stories.
Mm.
And I think as a pastor, that's the job. You're telling the story of Jesus. You're telling the
Yes.
story of God at work in the community. So, can I go real practical again and give, like, how to do this on the cheap? So, oh man, there's so many things. But here's something that I love telling people to do. If you Whether you have a big budget or a small budget, why don't you try this one? Okay. The problem with testimony stories is that if anyone's tried to film them, it's this classic thing where you get the person, I don't know, sitting on a stool, sitting on a chair,
Yeah.
and they ramble on for an hour. And you have an hour of footage and you need a
Yeah.
3-minute video.
Mm.
That's it. And so part of why they cost so much to make, if you want to do them well, is because you're trying to find a story in an hour of content.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult job to be the editor of that. So let alone like cameras, lights, audio,
Right.
all the stuff that's
Sure.
involved with doing that at a high level. So here's an approach. And the first place I saw this done was a young adults church service where they did this every time people got baptized. So I always think like there's a lot of innovation that comes from youth, kids, young adults ministries because they don't have budgets, they don't have a lot of money, and they're also
Right.
willing to try some stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
So stuff like starts there, try it there, and then like if it works, you can do it in like the adult service. So it's a good experiment place. Okay. Um, People who are getting baptized, you maybe ask them 3 questions. What was my life like before I met Christ? How did I meet Christ? And what is my life like now? Maybe it's
Mm.
as basic as that. And then, but on one page, you're asking them at home on their own to write their story on one single, maybe a page and a half. Give them a word count. How many, how much you want them to do that, and get them to write out their story. And
Mm.
then you're gonna get like, so now there's 3 people getting baptized or whatever. And on a Sunday after service, you ask them all to come to a place in the church where you've got, it could be a really nice audio setup because maybe a lot of churches have good microphones and stuff because they're churches, or you just have a little mic connected to your
Yeah.
iPhone.
Right.
You have a mic like I've got here. I'm not using it today, plugged into your computer, whatever it is. You get all of them to come at once and read their own story in their own voice, in their own words, into a microphone. It could be on your phone. It can be on a laptop. Everybody's got software for this. You don't need anything fancy.
Right.
And you're going to get them to read it like, I don't know, 3, 4 times until it feels right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then now you've got the audio. Check. Okay, then you're going to take them all outside because outside is free lighting,
Yeah.
Mm.
natural lighting. And you can do this on an iPhone, and you're going to put it in slow-mo because everything is more epic. Everything is more emotional
Yeah.
in slow motion. I mean, bonus points if the if the place you are has anything to do with their story. But it doesn't matter. If this is like a 1-minute video and you film them walking down the path in the park
Yeah.
under the trees. And then at the end, they turn and smile at the camera. Or they're like pushing their kid on a swing. I don't know. They're getting out of the car and walking into the house. I don't know. I say outside because the lighting is usually
Yeah.
better when you don't have a lighting
Yeah.
setup. So outdoor is best. So now you've got, they've read their story. You've got, we got the audio. They're not having to be weird on camera by having to talk directly to camera. You're just filming them walking around. Probably in 10 minutes of them walking around or riding a bike or making a sandwich or whatever you get them to do.
Yeah.
You've got, again, slow mo gives you so much content,
Yeah.
so much film content.
Right.
So now you've got, and then like you put the audio that you recorded of them telling their story over the slow mo video of them. You get some nice music behind it.
Boom.
There's
Magic.
a testimony video,
That's it. Yeah.
and it probably cost you $0.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, so that's the iPhone slow-mo video thing. That was a long rambling story, but I'm just trying to
That is
I'm
such
trying to get as
great practical
practical as I
advice.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hack. I love it.
Yeah, there's a hack.
I feel like that's great advice, and now I'm just like I'm kind of thinking like I wanna try to do this with just an iPhone just for fun at this point.
Yeah, like, why not? Like, it's kind of like we're gonna record the audio in the iPhone, we're gonna film the video on the iPhone, we're gonna edit it in the iPhone. Why not? It's fun.
It's great.
So let's think. I want to think about the different places where this could be shared, right? That could be
Yeah.
used in a service. It could also be shared. You mentioned email. It could be shared that way and on social media, right? You could, have that on all your social pages. I feel like
And a quote, you have their writing exactly.
that's
So
it.
now AI, you're gonna say, "Find me the quote,"
Yeah.
and now
Yeah, that's good.
that's the thing below the social post. That's the subject line of an email.
Mm.
That's
it.
testimonials on the website. I mean, it's so many things. like Jesus changed my life. I don't know, put it on a coffee cup.
Yeah.
You got to quote. You got to quote everywhere.
I love it.
So, as that's a great example, and I'm just kind of curious. I mean, are there any other quick tips? And maybe we don't have time to break down the full instructions for them. But any other quick tips for storytelling that churches could put into effect right away?
Well, I think that maybe um, one of the big things is there are a lot of stories going on in a church, and usually the problem is we don't have a system for
Wow.
how to capture
Correct.
them,
Yep.
Yeah.
collect them.
Yeah.
There are stories all the time. So there's probably there's not one right way to do that, but I think the problem is more on the story collection than the storytelling.
Mm,
That usually is where we get stuck. So, like, how do we make it as easy as possible? You're standing in and this is part of like building a system and then training our staff to hear what is a story and like respond to it. Like, you're standing in the hallway signing a family in for kids ministry, and they say something about that their kid has decided to give money from their own allowance into some church fund or whatever. Like, that's a
sure.
story.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, hey, um, we don't have time right now, but what's your email? Can I send you an email like right now with these 3 quick questions and then later today when you have chance? So it'll be like, whatever those 3 questions are, like
Right.
the auto form, you're going to email it to them while you're thinking of it. They're going to have it in their inbox when they go home that day. And it's going to be like essentially like capturing a few lines about what that story is. Ask them for a family photo or a photo of the people that they're talking about. So now you have permission to use a photo. And, yeah, basically you've got that's a social post, that's an email, that's an illustration for a sermon on Sunday. You've got the photo, you've got the quote.
Yeah.
You can show that so many ways. But I think it's more on the capturing side.
Yeah.
Trying like, in the moment is often not the time to capture it,
Mm,
but, um so, like, giving them the prompt to do it later
Hmm.
or helping pastors like, "Hey, could I record this? Because I'd like to take this what you're saying, and we could, through AI, make that into put that audio into something that'll make that into a coherent story
yeah.
or,
Yeah.
whatever." But maybe the last thing I'll say is if everybody's responsible for stories, then, like, nobody's responsible.
Mm.
So
Mm,
having someone in the church on the staff who is part of their job is they are the chief story collector.
yeah.
Maybe not the chief storyteller, because everyone should tell them, but,
Yeah.
who is the person who's actually administrating the collection of the stories? If that's your job, you better believe you'll build a system and
Mm.
remind people to use it all the time.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I'm just thinking through efficiencies here and culture, right? So, like, so many of the conversations we have on this podcast are brilliant, like radical church changing, community changing concepts and ideas that really just need to be implemented into the church's culture. So,
Yeah.
storytelling, right? Like, help us tell the
Culture.
story of Jesus and what he's
Right.
doing in your life. This is part of our culture, right? Like, we
Yeah.
want to literally evangelize your story because it talks about Jesus and gives him glory. So help that be a part of your culture. In my mind, I immediately go like, you said a form. We've got a form with 3 simple questions. It's not overwhelming. It's a low barrier of entry versus like, come on and we're going to film your family and your home has to look
Yeah.
perfect, right?
Right.
So if you've got that form, put up a QR code that says like, share your Jesus story. And then as people see it on a regular basis, it becomes this mental idea. It becomes this idea of like, I am sensitive to what the Holy Spirit's doing. I would like to talk about it. My church has that
Mm,
opportunity, right? And then
Yeah.
as they see those videos, like, oh, all I have to do is walk around a park. Like that feels doable
Yeah.
versus
right.
the very
And you
intimate,
can film
like
3 all at
in your
once.
home. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 I love it. I think this is so, so brilliant and easy and so
Yes.
applicable. Thank you, Joanna. This has been so great. We're not done, but I'm just telling you right now.
Like, "All right,
So
yeah."
far, already, it's been so great.
Joanna, I'm kind of curious. I mean, like, if for maybe some listeners who are out there today and they say, like, we've tried doing different things and we haven't gotten a lot of success, or like,
Yeah.
like we've faced struggles, or maybe our stuff just didn't get any traction. Do you have any encouragement that you'd give them today?
I think everybody says that, so you're in good company.
Yeah.
Um Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we do that it just doesn't work. But maybe the deeper question is like, how do we measure success?
Mm.
Um, and the answer is there's a broad answer, like, we serve Jesus, and I don't know, but I mean, really, like, what were we trying to go for? What are we trying to
Yeah.
go for this year?
Mm.
I think sometimes, if you're a local church, not like a national platform kind of a church, um, uh, then there's like a limit to how many people are going to engage with you on social.
Yeah.
So
Like,
true.
it's just the local community. If
Great
you're
reminder.
Elevation Church, then you have, because of your music and a traveling preacher guy, you have national and
Yeah, a global
international
following, right?
exposure.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
be like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
But if you're a local church faithfully serving the community of your area,
Yes.
um, uh, then let's be honest about what the reach of that is in terms of social content. Now, that said, there could be a story that you tell that, man, uh, yeah, like, has something that is so deeply impactful. I don't know, it goes a lot
Yeah.
further. That's
Yeah.
super cool. And sometimes it happens later, like it's a couple years later and
Right.
somehow
Right.
it gets found and spread. So sometimes you don't know. But I think part of it is, I think, setting right expectation of like, what are we going after? Or even just what are
Right.
we going after this year? Who are we
Yeah.
trying to talk to?
Yeah.
And have we done that well? We're not trying to talk to probably a million people. We're probably trying to talk to a few thousand.
What a good
Um,
reminder.
Yes.
and so, out of the few thousand, what percentage of those people will like, comment, or engage? Even less amount. So,
Yeah.
I think we need to right size our understanding of that success. I mean, it's that classic thing of like, I don't know, if I shared a photo and I had to stand there and 50 people came by and gave me a high five because they liked that thing I did, like, it's a bit overwhelming. And so we
Yeah.
lose track of what those numbers mean sometimes,
Yes.
in an online space where there's a few billion people, but like, we're really focused on serving the particular people. I mean, I think about how Jesus is like being called and pulled, and like, people need you over here, and people wanted him
Yeah.
over here, and he kept sneaking away, and no one could ever find him because he was off praying somewhere. And like, and he was so clear about like, we got to move on, or
Yeah.
like, I'm not here for that thing. I'm actually here for this thing.
Ugh.
And he wasn't fussed by a crowd, and he wasn't
Mm.
trying to impress one individual. There was sort of a steadiness to how he did it. So just to say that, let's get clear on who are we really trying to talk to,
Yes.
Yeah.
and then what does success look like with those people, um, and where do they hang out on the internet? Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk to them there.
Right.
Yeah.
Great
So
advice.
good. Yep.
We talk about digital ministry so often. I'm just kind of curious from your perspective, would you share why it's important for church leaders to be invested in digital ministry right now?
When I mean, what is the time on your phone tell you spend on your phone?
Mm.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, it's where we spend more time than, sadly, it's probably where we spend more time than almost anywhere else. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
so if that's where people like, we can bemoan and be concerned, as we should be, about how much time we're there and what it's doing to our brains, and our souls.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
at the same time, it's where people are.
Yes.
So we go find the lost sheep,
Yeah.
Yes.
and if they're on the internet, let's also be there. I
Great
maybe
advice.
the thing I'll say about it broadly is, I think about the digital space is like dating apps, where like, I think the digital space allows you to meet someone you never meet someone, or meet a concept, meet a church, meet Jesus, that you
Mm.
may never have otherwise had opportunity to connect to
Mm.
Yeah.
in your day-to-day life. But the point of a dating app is to meet in person.
Right.
And even then, when you're in a relationship, you might be using a digital tool. You're away, you're FaceTiming your kids. Hey, honey, bring milk home. You're
Yeah.
texting them. Like,
Yeah.
there's lots of digital stuff that we use in our day-to-day relationships to keep them connected and ongoing.
Right.
And it might be how we met in the first place.
Right.
But the point is to get back together. The
Yes.
point is to be in person. The
Yes.
point is the in-person relationship. And again, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like they know the difference. They
Right.
do. Like I've had so many. I've done this. I did this tour all over Canada called "The Bible is Trending" with the Bible Society, American Bible Society, Canadian Bible Society, British Bible Society, and we talked to young people over and over. We're saying like, do you want to connect online? Like if you're talking about mentorship, Bible study, I don't know, just engagement with your faith.
Yeah.
Every single one answered in person.
Mm.
They all want in person.
That's making me emotional a little bit. Thank you, Jesus. We need it so bad, man. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, we need it. Everybody
Mhm.
wants it.
Yeah.
So the digital space might be where you originally welcome someone into your community.
Yeah,
And it is a place we keep connected and let people know,
for sure.
what's going on. But
Yeah.
like in any other relationship, the point is to be together in person.
So good.
So good.
One of the big themes for our podcast that we talk about each week is healthy churches and healthy leaders. And I'm just kind of curious, from your unique perspective, what would you say is one essential component of a healthy church?
Ooh.
Mhm.
Well, haven't we all had well, what is it? We've all seen some unhealthy churches. Um, it's humility.
Yeah,
I think, what is it? Pride cometh before the fall.
sure.
I when we think of leaders who have epic fails,
Mm.
they didn't start that way. They think it's not going to happen to them. They think they've got their sin in control. They think they're the exception. It's all pride.
Mm.
Um, humility, humility in how we present Jesus. Um, People are complex. The world is complex. What people have heard about Jesus before they've walked into our church is 1,000 different things. Some of them may
Yes.
be totally off.
Sure.
So, and people are smart. They do know things. Like the local pastor doesn't know everything.
Mm.
There are things about science and the world and religion,
Mhm.
whatever, that like people know that we don't know. So how do we present confidently but with humility? It's meekness, I guess. Like
Yeah.
meekness is power under control
Wow.
Yes.
or power with humility.
Yes.
Meekness is not weakness, but I think um, I am more and more attracted to humility, and you can't
Yeah.
fake it,
Mm.
but you can smell when it's there and you can
Mhm.
smell when it's maybe off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think again, like it's a generation looking for, we can't impress people. We
Mm.
don't have $1 billion.
Right.
Right.
So like let's um let's offer what we can. People are really struggling and
Mm.
lonely and
Mm.
hurt, and the church has participated in some of that. And so we need to be honest and humble about where we ourselves participate in those systems,
Yeah.
Wow.
and how can we say sorry.
Sure.
And I don't
Wow.
mean sorry like we're just groveling all the time. I am Canadian, so I don't mean sorry, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I don't mean that, but like by sorry is in like sometimes people need someone to say, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
horrible and it
Wow.
never should have
Yes.
happened.
Wow.
And like, we aren't perfect
Yeah.
and we're going to try to not have that happen to you here.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good word for today. And I feel like having that meekness, having that humility, that authenticity, I feel like that's going to strengthen your digital communication. That's going to
Mm.
strengthen your storytelling, right? Those things will come through in both of those
Yes.
areas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's such a great word today, Joanna. The way that we love to wrap things up, we like to have a little bit of fun with a final 5 rapid fire round. Are you up for the challenge before we close out today?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All
Okay.
right.
I get to ask these fun questions. Okay. What's one book on this subject or similar that you would recommend to church leaders?
Um, I love Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull.
Yeah, it's a great one.
He's the guy who founded Pixar. There's a
Oh,
lot of
cool.
interesting stuff from him as a creative leader that I think is super inspiring. If you want free therapy, Life of the Beloved by Henry Nouwen
Nice.
He spent most of his life, he was a professor, he was a priest, and he
Mm,
spent a lot of his life living and serving people with intellectual disabilities.
mm.
And
Wow.
we are loved before we can
Mm.
do anything to impress
Mm.
anyone.
Wow.
Read that book.
Sounds like I need that book. Okay, last thing you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you stream music.
Listen, I'm probably listening to some sort of like lo-fi beats. If
Yeah.
Love
it's
that.
got words, I get distracted.
Same.
That would be probably the main thing through the day that I'm
Yeah.
listening to.
That's
I
me
love a
all
good
day.
worship
That's
song
it.
or whatever, but then I get distracted and I can't have the feels when I'm trying
Yeah,
to write an
no.
email.
I end up writing what I listen to, so I'm
Yeah.
also like, no
We're on the
lyrics,
same
please.
page, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what is your favorite piece of technology or software right now?
Well, because it's
iPods.
on theme, I'll say two things.
Or
One, I got the AirPods Pro
AirPods.
3s. Bought them in Chicago because I dropped an AirPod Pro 2 down the toilet the day before the AirPod Pro
Oopsie.
3s came out, so it was time to buy new ones.
And they
This
do
is like a
your I'm
problem of
trying to
mine.
think, they do your heartbeat, right? They is that's like the big
Apparently.
yeah.
Okay, the other thing I'll say is like a bit of an offside is I have gone back to a regular watch from like a
Mm,
Mm.
smartwatch, and I'm really enjoying it is technology of a different kind, but I'm really enjoying having less screens bombarding me, and so
wow.
I'm back to a regular watch.
I have anxiety just thinking about making that switch, which is probably a good indicator that I should make that switch.
Yeah.
Okay, what is quote or advice that has stuck with you over the years?
Oh. Oh.
I know this is a loaded one.
Okay. Well, I'm there's so many quotes, but uh, one of the things I just say to people who are struggling, like works a grind sometimes. My dad, he's passed away now, but he was a engineer and he was Dutch, so he was blunt and direct. And engineers are very practical. And when I was starting working, he just basically said something like, "The reason, like they pay you, is because there are problems to solve.
Mm,
If there
Ooh.
weren't problems, there wouldn't be a job."
mm,
And I just say that as an encouragement to people who feel like, man, there's so many problems. And like, there's so many
yeah.
things that people keep asking me to help them with. And why can't we figure this out? And this is more difficult than I expected. And these people and that thing and that process. Yeah, it's a job. And that's why they pay you.
Mm,
Right.
If there wasn't a problem, they wouldn't need you. And so maybe just as a turn, um, from my practical dad is just a reminder and encouragement that, like, thank God for the problems because
Mm.
the
mm,
problems keep you employed.
that's good reminder. Love that. Okay, last one. What's one thing that you would like to communicate to our audience of church leaders?
Do less.
Mm,
There's a lot of anxious running around, unstrategic, busy work.
Hmm,
Um, Kind of how I started the conversation is like maybe you just need a website and some emails.
right.
And what I mean by that is like if we were to reduce what we do to the most fundamentals, then start adding on from what is it like there was even like Coco Chanel, it was something like I put on all the stuff and then I take one off.
Mm,
Like the
mm,
jewelry,
yeah,
like I put on all the
yes.
things and then I take one piece off. This sort of sentiment of like what is the piece you can take off?
yeah,
It's good.
Um, how can we be effective? Jesus was, as John Mark Comer always talks about, right? This non-anxious presence.
right.
Man, we're all just so anxious,
Mm,
Mm,
running around trying to do all these things and impress all these people. And
wow.
most of it, not most of it, there is some of it that we could stop and no one would mind.
Mm, that's a good word for today. Joanna, this has been an amazing conversation. So many practical tips, but also just wisdom. So thank you so much for that. I know that people are going to want to hear more from you. Where can they follow you? Where can they stay connected with your work?
Oh my goodness. Joanna la Fleur on all the places, websites and Instagrams. And I am much less active there than I used to be. But you can at least find the archives. You can find podcasts. You can find content. I'm trying to figure out what my less is these
Yeah.
days. But you'll find me on Instagram stories every day.
Love
That's an
And
that.
this
easy one.
weekend, I'm heading to New York. So there'll be some coffee posts and Central Park
Love it.
fall colors.
Oh,
Good
we
time
hope
of
you
year.
yeah, I hope you enjoy your trip, and thanks for making time to chat with us today before you are traveling. So
Yeah, for sure.
this has been amazing. For all of our listeners, definitely check out our show notes. We'll link up all of those things so you can keep up with Joanna. And I just so thankful for you making time for us today. This has been a great conversation. And
Mhm.
Jess, thank you too for being on here. It's I would say for all of our listeners, if this episode has encouraged you, if it's gotten some practical tips out of it and some wisdom, would you consider sharing it or leaving a
Mhm.
review? That just lets us know what you're thinking, how this is resonating with you, and we so appreciate that. And it helps us to keep equipping leaders just like you. Again, hit that follow button wherever you're enjoying our show. We want to make sure that you stay in the loop with everything that we're releasing. But I would say this until next time, keep leading well right there where you are in your city. And we hope we'll see you back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.